During his meeting with Xi, blank is the most important issue for Trump to address.
It's obvious to say trade.
Yeah.
That's the big one. Scott Besson is saying that he has a draft deal with the Chinese that would avoid these more than 100% tariffs that clearly manufacturers have been terrified of. Although we haven't seen mass consumer price index inflation because of the tariffs, we know that they have still caused elevated input costs
100%.
for American businesses.
Yeah.
So the reason why the most important pressing issue for Trump is likely trade. In the deal, one of the biggest provisions is that China's export controls of rare earth minerals would be delayed by 1 year, which is crucial because Trump is doing what Joe Biden didn't, which is making sure that we can get rare earth minerals from other countries because a lot of it is just native. Either you have lithium or you don't. Either you have beryllium or you don't. We saw Trump with the Australians last week cement a good rare earth minerals deals. We've made one with Ukraine. That's part of our de facto security guarantee. But with the trade deal, that is what is within Trump's control. Because realistically, a lot of the other things that we think could be covered by a deal cannot be, because China will not stop being China. And I think Trump fundamentally understands that. It's why he is expediting nuclear submarine deliveries to the Australians. It is why he has completely defanged the Pentagon and directly put, long-range missiles authorization under his own personal purview. So he can let the world know, I'm giving long-range missiles to places like Ukraine. The South China Sea will not be toothless. And so it's not that the defense elements don't matter, but it's just China's not going to stop being China. China will maintain its same territorial ambitions and aggressive posturing regardless of what happens with the Xi meeting. And I think Trump quietly knows that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have nothing to really push back on there. So I guess I'll give maybe a 1B or even a top reason or item number 2 that needs to be discussed. And it's actually the war in Ukraine. You had mentioned China will not give up their territorial ambitions. Donald Trump is realizing that Vladimir Putin really has no designs on doing that as well, no matter how good of a relationship the two of them might have developed over the years. And the reason I bring this up is because last week we saw a little bit of backsliding in the president's push to end this war in Ukraine. He had talked to Putin on the phone. They talked about having a summit in Hungary. Friday, Zelensky comes to the White House. It's all good, go forward with the summit. And then Secretary of State Rubio talks to Sergei Lavrov, his Russian counterpart, and the White House immediately changes its tune. There is no longer a summit in Hungary, and that phone call, made it clear that Russia is not being serious about ending this war. That being said, a few days later, Trump was talking about this issue again, as he is prone to weave in and out of topics during pool sprays at the White House. He loves the weave. Love the weave, baby. In and out, in and out. Sorry about that. That being said, he was asked, will you bring up the war in Ukraine with President Xi? And do you think Xi can talk down his good buddy Vladimir Putin, really Putin's only remaining ally left on the global stage, and get him to end this war?
Bashar al-Assad in a tower in Moscow does not count.
And for the record, the Trump administration's current line isn't get out of, the Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine. It's we're going to draw the new borders exactly where they stand right now.
Yeah.
This is a pretty significant concession from Ukraine and one that Zelensky has been resistant to up until last week. So, the president answered essentially, yes, I'm going to talk about it, and yes, I think he can potentially end this war. I think you want to talk about Donald Trump getting recognized for his legacy as a peacemaker. He's going to have to capitulate and kowtow and essentially beg Xi to come in, and save his behind. And I think that could end up being a major leverage point for the Chinese as they're walking through these tariff and trade talks. It's a big issue, and it's almost impossible to de-link them in terms of the conversations that are going to be happening this week in South Korea.
I can't argue with any of that. And the best thing that Trump has going for him with Xi is, as we've discussed, Chinese think long term, right?
Yeah.
Centuries, not days or weeks or years. And in the long run, you know, I think we all see, everyone understands that the Russian position is not sustainable. Interest rates at 20%, inflation at 10%.
Yeah.
You know, most of the young men that create the economy
Or
dead
dying.
or disabled
Yeah.
or destroyed by war. She has longer term ambitions than helping Putin, you know, live out his, you know,
His fantasy,
his
really.
fantasy of
Yeah.
Rurik the Good or whatever weird crap he gets obsessed with whenever he goes on his diatribe about why Kiev Rus is actually Ukraine. And, you know, she is not suicidally ideological. I think that there is some level of pragmatism there that could work out for Trump and, better yet, for the Ukrainians.